You're a doctor. Good for you. Thank you for explaining everything to me so clearly. When am I going to meet the surgeon? I didn't expect my doctor to be so tall. Do you think you would be a surgeon without affirmative action? These are some of the comments that I've had to deal with as a black man who happens to be a surgeon. It seems as though being a black professional continues to be a point of shock, of awe for a lot of people, of disbelief even. And when I say professional, I don't mean it in the traditional sense for accountants or all attorneys, corporate executives, etc. By professional, I mean anyone that's had a lot of training, anyone that has had years of education, both formal or informal, or those holding a position of power and prestige. And obviously, for people who are not black, being constantly encountered with black professionals will make our existence seem much more of a normality and less than an exception. And we'll speak about what normality means or what normal means a little later. But what's not often talked about is that black people give me the same reaction. When I walk into the doctor's office for a consultation, black patients are also surprised. When I'm walking down the halls of the hospital because a patient needs surgical treatment for their infected gallbladder, black patients are also surprised to see me. So one may ask, well, I understand why white people might be shocked at a black professional, but why are black people shocked at black professionals? Well, as the eloquent James Baldwin once said in an interview, and I'm paraphrasing him, what the world does, if it does it long enough, and if it does it well enough, is that the world makes you a co-conspirator to your own demise. If the world says it's important to be white, you think it's important to be white. If the world says it's not important or it's bad to be black, you start to think it's not important or bad to be black, in paraphrase. So the world has done a number on the black community. And very often we sort of discuss in our private settings this messaging that the world has about black people, especially black men. Black men are athletes, entertainers, or criminals. And anything outside of those three boxes is an exception, is an aberration. Well, I'm here to let you know that black excellence is normal. Black excellence is expected. It wasn't that long ago that a Google search for 3 black teenagers would yield hundreds of pictures of incarcerated black men. Google has since worked on their algorithms, but this pervasive messaging has damaged our communities and continues to damage our communities, especially for our black youth. A little information about me. I grew up in Washington, D.C., with both parents and my brother. When I was 10 years old, we moved to Durham, North Carolina. My mother, both parents were college educated. My mother had a PhD in molecular biology. Both of my grandfathers had doctorate degrees, one in medicine, one in education. If anybody's wondering, I am black, full black. Both parents are black. All 4 grandparents are black, okay? I am black. So education was preached nonstop in my family. Outside of my family was the same thing. Both when we lived in Washington, D.C. and in Durham, North Carolina, my communities were all black families. All parents preached excellence, educational achievement, academic achievement in our families and in our whole entire communities. So the idea for me that the world wants to put me in one of 3 categories, athlete, entertainer, or criminal just did not compute in my mind, because that's not how I was raised, and that's not what I was exposed to. My senior year of high school, I was trying to decide where I was going to attend college, as most seniors in high school do. On that list was Morehouse College. And for those of you who do not know Morehouse College, Morehouse is an all-black, all-male college in Atlanta, Georgia. Across the street is the all-black, all-female school, Spelman College. I wasn't too keen on Morehouse College, but my mother wanted me to go there so badly, and of course, mother knows best, right? So she calls me Chet. Chet, I want you to go down for a pre-college weekend at Morehouse to find out more about Morehouse and to see if this is for you. And I said, of course, Mom, I will go for you. When I arrived for this pre-college weekend, one of the first activities was to be in an assembly in what we call King's Chapel, Martin Luther King Chapel. So about 300-400 of us gathered in this chapel, and we were being lectured to. The person who was lecturing us said, I want everybody in this auditorium to stand up if you are vice president or president of your senior class in high school. And I kid you not, at least 75% of us stood up. These are all black boys. These are all black men, leaders, educational achievers. It was at that moment that I knew there was no other place for me but Morehouse College. And Morehouse was your typical college institution, other than the fact that we were all black and all male. But other than that, it was your typical college. There were very focused students. There were very unfocused students. There were very wealthy students coming from wealthy families. There were very poor students coming from not so wealthy families. There were very brilliant people. There were not so brilliant people. But we all had one thing in common, three things in common: being black, being male. The third being we all knew about black excellence. We all expected black excellence from ourselves. Not only did we expect it from ourselves, but we held each other accountable to expect black excellence from each other. Very powerful for me. After 4 years, I left Morehouse College and I went to another HBCU, or historically black college or university. I went back to Washington, D.C. and attended Howard University for both medical training and surgical training, medical school and surgical training. I was surrounded, again, by black excellence. I was surrounded by students who expected from themselves and from others academic high achievement. I was surrounded by black physicians, by black surgeons. So again, this idea for me that me as a black man, I have to be relegated to being an athlete, an entertainer, or a criminal just did not compute. I also found my wife at Howard University, so I was lucky for her being there as well. And I was keenly aware, of course, about the atrocities and all the things that were happening to black people currently in our country, that has happened in the past. But I never felt like a minority. I knew that label was placed on me, but I never felt like a minority. When I left Howard, that's when I felt like a minority. I went to another institution of higher education for some more surgical subspecialty training. And it was at this institution that I felt like a minority because there were no other black colleagues. There were no other black surgeons. There was one here and there that I very rarely saw. And one may say, well, Charles was very unprepared for the real world because he hasn't been around white people as much as most other people have. And I say the complete opposite was the case. I had been nurtured. I had been coddled. I had been raised in a fashion to give me supreme confidence in my abilities, supreme confidence in what I was able to do. It was at this other institution that I began to learn that people are putting me in boxes that I don't belong. Aside from being taught by the other surgeons who were there, outside of those circles, Nobody was talking to me about other medical issues or advancements in medicine. They were always saying things like, Charles, you remind me of LeBron James. You play basketball, don't you? Or you remind me from that guy from, what is it, Grey's Anatomy? Yeah, you look like him, right? Right? And the always offensive, Charles, you speak so well. Thanks, Bob. As if I'm supposed to speak any other way because I'm black. After finished training at this institution, I then came here to Long Island, where I started practicing surgery. I was out east in Suffolk County, and I was covering multiple different hospitals. One moment that really stood out in my memory bank was about 2 years after I had been here, the emergency room called me because they had a patient that they thought needed emergency surgery. So they called me, I came in. This was a 90-year-old woman who, upon presentation, had a perforated bowel, which means that she needed emergency operation. So as we always do, we go to the family and explain to the family what's going on, risks, benefits, etc. Before I could get a word out, this woman's son, he's in his 50s, he's a white male, pulled me to the side and said, Dr. Thompson, I teach at an historically black college or university in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I've been teaching there for multiple decades, so I'm very aware of the challenges that black men, black women have in our society. I have complete confidence in you, in your skills to take care of my mother to the best of your ability. Because I know for you to have gotten where you are today, you have to be highly intelligent, you have to work hard, and you have to break down many barriers that our society has put up in educating black boys and black girls. My initial thought was I really appreciated him saying that to me. This is something that I had never heard from a white person. Not as though I'm looking for acceptance or looking for adulation from them, but it was nice to hear. My second thought was, this is my self-imposed responsibility in order to normalize black excellence. I need to do my job in making black professional excellence more of a normality and less than an exception. I'm not saying that it's normal to be a doctor, a surgeon, or a lawyer, or a corporate executive, but it is normal to want to be excellent, and that's what our black youth need to hear. It is normal to know that over hundreds of years of atrocities done to our people, that our bones are infused with power, with strength, with resilience, to be excellent. Black excellence is normal. Black excellence is inevitable. That is my truth. Thank you.